Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste and welcome everyone to Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai. Okay, let's go to Pratna.
Namaste, Father.
My dear.
Father, I just wanted to come up and say that it seems sometimes that the mind takes on these very subtle positions, and
1 second, my dear. 1 second. So the mind takes on subtle positions. Yes.
and I just want to say, Father, that just don't spare me, please.
Could that subtly be a position? Since you asked. Like, even don't spare anything when you realize in your heart that it is not possible to be spared, could also be subtly a position.
It's not possible to. There is no one here who can be spared or who needs sparing or anything. It is seen.
Yeah. Of course, I
So,
realized that the feeling with which the prayer is made. Of course, I completely realize that. But at some points, we have to even point out these things that without even this, now what?
there's no trouble, Father. There's no trouble.
Yeah.
There's no trouble, but yet.
Like without even the notion of trouble or no trouble? Because otherwise, spirituality can be a trouble resolving mechanism. And most of us get into spirituality for that. But suppose it had nothing to do with trouble or no trouble also.
It's fine, Father.
So you could not gauge conceptually or mentally anything. So how do I put this in a way that is simpler? So suppose that, let's see if a decent metaphor comes, but suppose that everything in the realm of appearances is circles. So everything is circles. Okay? The world itself is circle and everything that appears in that is circle. You see? But in our conceptual ability to understand or in our mind, we can have only squares. We can only have squares. You see? So then what can we do? So how do we start? Most of us start by trying to squeeze the circle into the square so that we can come to some apparent understanding or knowledge. You see? But soon enough, either through inquiry or surrender, that doesn't have to be in a formal way, but in one way or the other, letting go happens, where we let go of the attempt to put these circles into the squares. You see? Because we realize that it just doesn't fit. Because every time I try to force it, it then becomes convoluted and causes trouble, causes suffering, like you said. So, so suppose that we let go of the attempt to convert these circles and we don't try to own them as squares. Now, then what?
It's fine, Father.
Some square is calling you? No. It's a simple way to explain. Simple way to explain the inability of the mind to squeeze out any truths from the realm of appearance. Then what happens when that need to understand or that need to know, because we think that that knowledge is going to help us, is dropped or squeezed out of us, whatever we may say, then this pure perception remains. And even this is just for communication. Even the term pure perception is just something that we use to communicate. And that is the end of time. It is not in the end of time in the way that the mind may understand it. The okay, end of appearance. But the idea of linearity goes away. And without linearity, we cannot have a narrative. We cannot have a story. We cannot be waiting. We cannot have an expectation. And the mind has no role because without linearity, without the flow of time, it cannot get its claws into any of this. Okay, quick thing, this caught my attention. Can we translate anything into words? Is the chat question. Well, can we put Delhi into the signboard of Delhi? The same way. Like we can't put Germany on the sign or the map that says Germany. So can it seem helpful from time to time? As long as the sign seems helpful, you see, and it's pointing in the right way. But can it actually be conveyed in words? The truthiness of anything like that I've been saying? Not really. One says, Father, you are the master of deconstruction. Initial ego anger turns into joy and laughter. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Because to construct is to construct the false. You see, being is perfect as it is. To and to construct means to construct notions on top of that, to construct stories and narratives on top of that is ignorance. So to clean up the ignorance, as all the masters have told us, is the only task seemingly needed to be free. What would constructive be? We would have to start with the notion that what is incomplete in some way, and therefore now um, either we have to build or find something that we can put on top of that, which is impossible, or like Humpty Dumpty, all the pieces are broken, and then we have to construct it again. Both of which are not at least aligned with my discovery of myself and my being. So, so it's just that sometimes there's some dust on the spectacles. You just clean them. That's what satsang is, so that you can see clearly. Okay, how to be okay with the untranslated? Everybody is asking questions on chat. Is that so that you don't have to do transcripts? Is there a rule like that? Okay, we'll let it go today. How to be okay with this untranslatable-ness of everything? You are okay with it. You're already okay with it. Nobody starts this moment right now saying, okay, what does this mean? Oh, what does this mean? Oh, you're fine. Then next one said, there is such a yearning in this heart to be with you. Not desire, not pain, not joy, not sadness, but something in between. I love you so much. Love you too, my dear. This is good. Something undefinable, and yet something seems like is drawn in a way, like a longing or a yearning. Okay, we have Adrian wants to come.
Hello, Father.
Hello, my dear. Just for having the courage to come up, you don't have to do the transcript unless you want to.
Um, I'm contemplating a bit this thing about what is the line between my mind and the mind of others.
Yeah,
Like, is there such a thing? And my feeling is that there is not. Uh,
that's a good contemplation. It's a very good contemplation. Because others, once you start contemplating like this, you will see that others is just a notion in the mind. You see, what divides anything in this appearance from another apparent thing in this appearance is only a notion in the mind. You see?
yes. So maybe what needs to, I don't know how to put it in words, like, um in a way, I feel that I have to transcend not only my mind or, my mind, but the mind, the collective mind or something. I don't know. Because there is
Collective.
no such thing as my mind. It's,
Yes. There's no such thing as a collective also. If you're really deconstructing, you see, then you'll notice that collective is also a notion. My is a notion, other is a notion, collective is a notion, mind is a notion, consciousness is a notion, self is a notion, awareness is a notion. Everything that is a thought.
yeah. I feel that I have been caught a bit in this paradigm of my mind and my conditioning and, my body mind that I have to, and, like looking at this, there is no such thing as me or other, or like just notions, just uh,
Now, very good. These contemplations are very beautiful. And I just want to invite you into, like, as a result of the contemplation, you could say, yes, yes, there is my mind, or no, no, there is no mind. You see, but when the masters say no, there isn't, it is just to neutralize the yes, there is. It is not another position that there is no mind. You see? So then it leaves you with the neutrality which is absent of either of the opposites. And
yeah,
that's your natural state. And that's naturally how we are every moment. You see? So use the contemplations so that you can recognize that the assertions of notions are not true, but their opposites are also notions which are not true. So then that leaves you in an open and empty.
sorry,
Uh,
couldn't get that last bit.
so
So
this is a good point. So I'll elaborate on this. So sometimes we feel like, okay, I'm going to contemplate and say, okay, is this a hand? See? Say, okay, it's a notion hand, and a notion hand has to conform with the ideas. But actually, what is it that that makes a hand a hand? Just the idea. You see? So then we may take on a new notion saying there is no hand. You see?
yeah,
You see? So we don't have to hold the opposite of that as if that is true. If there is no hand, then there is also not no hand. I don't know how to communicate this. You see, then it's not applicable. Not that there isn't a hand, but the whole thing is not applicable because there is no such thing as a hand or no hand. Either the presence or absence of something denotes a position. You see, but we are talking about that which is beyond the presence or absence of anything.
yeah.
So, is there my mind? No. Is there not my mind? No. Is there others? No. Is there not others? No. Everything no. As the Zen master say, no? The universal answer for everything is no. Huh? But they spell it M-U and it means no.
Yeah. Thank you. One more thing I contemplating a bit. I heard Guruji in a satsang saying that something like we shouldn't be comfortable in phenomenality, like to become comfortable like in phenomenality, because I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly his words, but it was along these lines that if we're getting comfortable in phenomenality, like the urge to be free or something, like to um, we somehow I can see this in my own case, like there is a tendency to be comfortable in phenomenality, like to have a have no problems with my house, with my apartment, or with money, or with but there has to be something more than this. Just it's not just, I mean, the truth has to be uh, something. I Because I can see that if I become attached to these things, like I will keep coming again and again after these things, and like life after life, and uh,
Yeah. I was laughing because we were talking about this multi-lifetime or the reincarnation thing just before this. We'll share some more about this. So we're reaching a level now where we talked about the circles and the squares, no? You see? But there is an aspect of ourselves, the purest aspect of our being, where the circles are circles. They don't need to go through the lens of the squares. So now, as you're hearing the master's words, you don't have to take the effort to try and squeeze them into an understanding, because now you're coming in touch with that intuitive insight where everything is seen as it is, as it truly is. You see? So that is the only place where the circle. So you can meet Guruji's words and the words of Satsang through your heart, and you don't have to worry about whether you've been able to understand them or not understand.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Very happy to hear from you. Very good. Let's go to Arvind.
Good evening, Guruji.
Good evening, my dear.
A pleasure and much missed to seeing you after a couple of weeks. Thank you. I just wanted to share a couple of feelings I have and see how they resonate with you and what your reaction might be. One is that I'm starting to feel like everything that we sense, that we see and we experience is something that's synthesized inside our brain. So in other words, it's like, it's like a microprocessor since it's synthesized a lot of different inputs, through the nervous system, through the senses, and it's creating a virtual reality that's constantly running. And that the consciousness is a sort of, is the sense of the senses. In other words, even for that reality to be created, the master sense that, gives life to your, all your senses, to your brain, allows that running and operation to happen, is in fact the universal and pure and stable consciousness. That's how I've been feeling. And the other thought I've also been feeling a little bit is like,
One at a time, because this is a nice one, and I'll forget by the time
please.
we go to the second one.
Thank you.
So, so it sounds like a famous philosophical experiment, isn't it? The brain in the vat, and many have been contemplating this, but they come across this um, sort of intellectual incoherency in this example, which is that. So, on one hand, if you say everything that appears is appearing in the brain, no? So, is the brain appearing in the brain also, or where is that? If everything is in the brain, then where is the brain? So either we are saying like the matrix thing, where there's another reality or another appearance, whatever we call it, in which we are plugged into like a machine or I don't know what it is. And then there is a brain thing there, which is actually located there. And in that, all this is happening. You see? Now, from the Vedantin perspective, or I can even say from direct experience, that this consciousness, I amness, needs no real backdrop except the non phenomenality of the unmanifest aspect of the self. You see? So, that in our experience is the fundamental layer of our very being. And once that is there, then it needs no other apparatus to experience itself. You see, otherwise we'll get into these kind of infinite regresses sort of thing. So if you say everything is a result of the hand, and everything is a result of the hand, then where does the hand appear? You see, it is also in time and space. So what is that time and space in which the rest of time and space appear? So you notice that from your direct experience, what can we see? We can say that there is that which is beyond what is called phenomenal experience, which we may call deep sleep or higher meditative states, where there is no phenomena, and yet the awareness that there is no phenomena is completely apparent. Then there rises in this non-phenomenal purity, in a way to use words, there arises this sense of being, I amness. And in the light of this consciousness, it just seems to play or it just seems to manifest or project all of these um, appearances within itself. And as a framework, of course, this framework is also just a framework and just to quieten the mind or quieten the intellect. But as a framework, that seems more palatable to me. You see, of course, being completely provisional, as every framework is, it seems more directly pointing to the direct experience that that is universal than to presume that there may be a container of something and then there's a brain in that and within that, because all those are still just thought experiments still.
Yeah, I think just to paraphrase, I think what I feel along those lines through direct experiences, that you feel the feeling I am, and the spaciousness and the interconnectedness, and everything else appears as a kind of sensation soup,
Yeah.
like a soup of sensations.
Yeah.
In other words, if you close your eyes, you just feel a lot of sensations. Now you can attribute labels to them. You can say, this sensation means this is my head. This other sensation means this is my hand. The other sensation means this, so these are my physical boundaries, but I don't know, because these are only sensations with floating labels. And sometimes, in fact, when you feel some energy flow, you're not even clear about the sensations, tend to blur into a kind of, that's why I call it soup. It tends to become like a soup of sensations. They're not really sure whether you're experiencing the exterior, the interior, no boundaries, frankly. Sometimes you just feel boundaryless. So that's the direct experience. You know, and yeah, I think so. Just sharing that, I
Very good. So,
resonates. Or
in your direct experience, uh, do you feel that there's something missing?
um, no, I mean, yeah, I don't think the concept of missing actually seems to. It seems like an unanswerable question in that space. Is there anything missing?
Yes, yes.
You know, I mean, sometimes it feels almost like there is a, you know, there is something there, like almost like, you know, although you can't feel it or you know, touch it or anything like that, but there's something that's omnipresent and it's very real everywhere.
Yes.
um you know, sometimes it feels like a little bit like, I would say, like you say, it's something like space or gravity.
Yes.
Like gravity, okay, you know, you experience it, although you can't, it doesn't react to any of your senses, but you experience the force. Or maybe when you say space, you know, it feels like there's nothing there, but an object comes in space and then it shines with all the energy that was in the space,
Yes.
through all the, you know, all the energy, electromagnetism, all the light that you couldn't see unless it hit an object, then it starts to glow and show itself. So
Sure.
these sorts of feelings, you know, sort of, you know, reveal themselves. I would say probably the purest one, I mean, I would say seems to be the sense that there's, you know, there is something there in which all these sensations are just appearing, and the thing that's there is everywhere. In other words, there's only one thing that's everywhere, and a whole lot of sensations are appearing. Maybe the brain is processing them into, you know, into what I'm calling my life. And maybe, you know, there are, you know, billions and billions of such thought streams that are being processed all the time, you know, directly. You know, I don't know. That's
Let's have some more fun, and let's see if we can drill out some insights from this. So, suppose you went to sleep tonight, and when you woke up, it was a Friday, and but actually, in the dream, when the dream started, it was a Friday. You see? But it seemed like you woke up, and the day started. Then you remembered, oh, it's Ananta Satsang, 5 o'clock. I have this question about the brain. I want to share with him and see what he feels. You see, and then that dream character comes and asks this question, and the answer comes that, okay, now if you were to get a surgeon and to open up your skull, I promise you that there is no brain inside that. You see, and it would be true because it's just a dream character, and maybe a brain decides to show up in the head of a dream character also, but we can't truly say, isn't it? So which brain would we be talking about? About the body mind, which in the dream seems as tangible as this body mind feels. You see, all the presence of pain and pleasure is there. You see, so can we conclude on what brain there would be? What brain are we talking about? The one sleeping on the bed, the one who's on the surgeon's table in the dream, or it could be infinite. You see that?
could be anything. I mean, it could be anything because you don't know where you are in that reference at all. In
Exactly.
fact, you don't know where you are. You don't know whether you're in a, you know, yeah, whether you are dreaming everything. It's only basically at the end of the day,
Yeah.
just sensations.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So the one that witnesses the presence or absence of sensation, so whether they witness just pure spaciousness or they witness a play of manifestations, how is that one recognized?
It's, I mean, it's entirely still. Everything is just, all these flickers, these sensations are appearing in it. It's entirely still and entirely,
But even
entirely
still,
unperturbed, and
I'm going
it's
to prod.
yeah,
I'm going
sorry.
to a bit more.
Yeah.
But even still, a movement would be perceived, isn't it?
Yes.
So how is that? It perceives both stillness and movement. How is that recognized?
I mean, it's difficult to put into words.
Yeah.
It's just a sense of um, the the viewer. It's the sense, again. It's only a sense, but it's the sense of, you know the viewer, sort of the light through which the light which views everything. And I use light because I don't have a better word,
Yes, yes, yes.
but it's a sense of certain the light. Like, if the closest words I could put into it is the wall of light,
Yeah.
which is looking from, omnidirectionally, and is able to witness it all. That's
And
perceptually the closest I can get to answering
not
what
bad.
is it. Can make
But
out stillness, or or movement, or it's just
yeah.
that's a sense.
And with which eyes do we see that you which is aware of either stillness or movement? With which eyes do we see that one?
I mean, it's only through the eyes of I guess the sense, the sense I am. It's only from that. In other words, if you feel as I feel, I am listening to you, I am interacting with you. That's that same sense. It doesn't have to be in the body. It's the same sense I am that's enveloping, but enveloping is also a difficult word because it's positionless. But that same sort of sense that there's, the thing that's interacting is, eventually vaster than the wall of light. And that's the one that you are, because that's the position, eventually undefinable position through which the perception is happening.
Yeah. So what about the source of even I am? Because even I am ultimately is not a constant, isn't it?
It's not a constant, it's everywhere. In other words, this feeling is it's everywhere, and all the sensations are, even the I am sensation is appearing in, you know, like the more defined I am, or the concentrated feeling of I am,
Yes, yes,
which I sometimes identify with being, somewhere around the body,
yes.
is again being seen in the vaster I am, which you can't put any boundaries to. That's sort of how I feel.
But what about the I without the I am? Independent even of I am. Like Guruji's book, Before I Am. What is he talking about? Or to put it even stronger, Maharaj said, Nisargadatta Maharaj at one point, maybe closer to his final few years, he said, don't worry about this I am infection. This is the infection which is troubling you, which has got you into all of this mess. Forget about consciousness. What are they talking about? Which is the I, which is amming. And how is that to be found? You say, I am. No? Nobody wakes up and says, oh, I was asleep, but now you are. You see, I am. You see, I woke up. Nobody says, oh, you woke up? I woke up. How do we know it's I that woke up? Which I is that woke up? Isn't it strange? Like if somebody woke up in front of us, you see, as it apparently does in front of awareness being wakes up, you say, oh, you are. How is it that we say, oh, I am? Who is this I which now is amming? The non-phenomenal. So how to find that non-phenomenal? To find would mean it has a location, and therefore it's phenomenal. So then, what are we looking for in satsang?
So see that you don't need to find it. I mean, you don't need to find it in that sense, because what would you find it with? I mean, that to not.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's quite apparent to you that you are without any need to look for
Yes.
that.
Yes.
That obviousness is to obvious.
The truth of what you are is beyond the sense of existence or non-existence. You see? So, in a sense, there's a deeper existence than this existence itself. So, truly, the truth which is beyond all that is changing is this truth, because even ultimately, even this I am comes and goes. And this truth is simpler to find because actually, find does not apply there. Because find would mean some localization in time and space, which is not possible. That's why simply when
I'm
I ask
lost. I'm honestly lost, Anantaji.
for lost, loss is not a bad thing. Loss is not a bad thing. Lost is my first step actually. Lost means I'm losing track of my conceptual understanding. You see? And that's when we are truly meeting actually. You see? That's when we are truly meeting, where we are losing track of our conceptual understanding. Now, continue to be lost. You see, and with the innocence of a child, tell me who is witnessing the perception of this hand?
I
You
am.
are. You see, you are. So this I that is aware of the perception of the hand, did you have to work hard to find it? Did we have to construct any paradigms and ideas to find it? You see, it is that naked, it is that apparent, it is that clear. But the mind will constantly struggle with it because it didn't find anything. It needs a quality or an attribute. So the nirguna without attribute is beyond it. You see? So it will keep questioning you, saying, "But you didn't find anything. What is it? This can't be it. Is it? Or is that it?" You see, that which it has no idea about, it has no trouble trying to attack. So without relying on any idea that we may have of the construct of any of this, it is that simple. It is that apparent. Now that I, which is aware of all perceptions, the you, which is aware of all perceptions, what can we say about that?
Nothing.
And yet, it is not a negative nothing, like what's on the floor, nothing. You see, it's not like that kind of negative nothing. It is just that it is so beyond all attributes and qualities. And yet, we call it I. You see? As all other representations of I, they come and go. But this does not. So from that perspective, we sometimes say it is the highest I, or the absolute, or the self. But it itself is so beyond all of these attributes and constructs, even beyond I am. And the same innocence with which we can simply answer, I am aware of your hand. Who else? I. That is where we have to stay. We do not need any effort. Perception cannot help us there. because you do not perceive this I that is aware. Concepts don't help us there, you see, because then that becomes all sticky and just bookish. It's just fresh. Of course, it's I. If I say to you, no, no, it's not you that is aware of this hand. Say, what are you saying, Ananta? Of course, I am aware. You see, that which you are trying to get to, if that is negated, you see, you will yourself affirm its reality.
Thank you. I think what I'm just taking away is to stop thinking about any, in fact, try to stop thinking, period. And then just, just let it flow, I guess.
Yes.
Just let life flow. I mean, the
Yes.
complexity comes because we do have to use all our faculties in our day-to-day life. We have to use our faculties for structured thinking, problem solving, analysis, and all that. So it's, difficult to say, let me not do anything which involves structured thinking. But at the same time, I understand that, just reduce it to the minimum and just go with instinct. Is that an oversimplified or an accurate takeaway from what you're suggesting?
Suppose you didn't have this takeaway, how would you do? You see? So uh, this is the like an introduction to the nakedness or the openness, the emptiness, because we feel like uh, in every interaction, in everything that we see, we feel like we must go with some conclusion, some understanding, something that brings us closer to the truth. And little do we understand that that conclusion itself is the piece of speck of dirt which is getting in our eyes. So don't take away that. Although it sounded nice, I'm not discounting that, but I'm saying just even if you leave that, you don't need to take away anything. See, allow yourself to just remain open and empty. And when something is needed, it will show up. Otherwise, you can always go and complain to God. I left it to you and you messed it up.
Thank you.
Very good. Very
I
good.
really understand. I think it's about letting yourself rest,
Yeah.
just being in a state of rest and not
Okay.
troubling
Not even
yourself.
that. Okay, now not even that.
Okay.
Then that's when the fun starts. When it's not even that. And not even that. Very good. Very okay, hands. Who's ready for a long transcript? Oh, one hand went away. Okay. Let's go to Georg. Georg, did I say correctly?
Very good. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Very good. Hello.
Hello.
Very, very nice to meet you and see you, Father.
Same.
I got caught so quick. I'm totally unprepared. So,
Good.
yeah. I think I take off. You still hear me?
Yes. Better actually.
Okay. Because yes, I just wanted to come up because actually, life is. I feel quite good.
Ah.
And I don't know how to put it's so this nearly new that I really feel also bodily, and so more and more I feel like grounded, no, yeah, and evened out. And so, of course, I'm very grateful for that. And but also, it came already up this today. Not to settle for that, to be still on the plane or in the train of satsang, not to make sure, yeah, this.
Okay, how is it on opposite sides? Like you can be at peace at all layers of your existence. Mind can be okay, body can be okay, family can be okay, everything can be okay, and you can still be in satsang.
Yes.
So we don't have to put them on the opposite ends of the spectrum, saying, no, no, don't settle for this. There has to be more. No, come to satsang, find more. Because then we are activating the seeker energy again, as if what is not enough.
Yeah, it is enough. It is. It's.
And then the confusion comes, but then, okay, then what am I supposed to do? You see? Forget do or not do. There is no such thing as do, actually. And I'm not trying to be Yoda from Star Wars. Do is just an idea that we place on some movement that appears in the realm of appearances. And because we want to insert it into a narrative or a story, then we use these verbs like do, see, do, go.
It's just empty. I don't know. It's nothing
Yes,
to.
yes, yes. It's good like that, no?
Yes, somehow is new and it feels beautiful. Or not even. I don't know.
Yes, yes. We don't know. Like Guruji told me when I went up in the hot seat, don't know. Because if you know, it messes it up anyway.
I don't have to find words. So.
No, of course you don't. And yet, if they come, they come. It's fine.
Yeah. Unexpected.
It's good.
Yeah.
This is the best conversation I've had all week. I am, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the voice says I have to make space because there's something important that people want to talk and so, but it's going by.
Actually, when I was on the hot seat, it is reminding me so much of that because the same thing the mind said that I better make some place. And Guruji said, nobody wants to come, don't worry.
The mind says, I can't believe it, but there's nothing to believe. but nothing makes sense actually. So
Yeah. It's neither sense nor nonsense.
yeah. Thank you, Father.
So welcome. So welcome. Very good. Very good. There's nothing you have to hold on to. There's nothing you have to retain. Yes. Natural, open, empty. Very good. Very good. Let me go to Govind first. I haven't met him in a bit.
Hello.
My dear, how are you now? The body is fully fine?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, good. Very good, actually. How are you?
Good, good.
Yeah. I just felt like coming up.
Yeah.
I haven't spoke to you for a while. Yeah.
You're living in London at the moment?
In London, no. I'm living next to the sea, actually, at the moment, which is quite nice. Yeah. In England, though. In England. Yeah. Close to Gracie. Very close to Gracie, which is nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I suppose I can maybe report something kind of cool. You remember last time we spoke, I think it was the last time we spoke, I was kind of struggling with something and it all felt very big, and it's just gone, it's like, it's just dissolved completely. And, that's happened a lot, but like this particular thing, I can't remember exactly the words we spoke, but it was like, it felt so huge that it was like, just overwhelming, really. But it wasn't the case at all, it's like, and so it's given me confidence, a lot of confidence, because, so many things come and go all the time.
Yeah. It's very good. Very good. That's very good because it's actually more than confidence and more than even conviction, because you see it, no? Then it becomes so apparent that that all these things, when they appear, and because we have some conditions about them, they can seem to be so big. See, everything comes and goes. Everything comes and goes. And in my true reality, in my true nature, nothing really leaves a scar or an impact or something. So I'm left unhurt.
Would you say that's the same recognition, like, because it's, in that moment of recognition that everything is passing?
Yeah.
Is that the same as recognizing the self, like that there is this unchanging?
It has to rely on that. You see, because it has to rely on that. Because otherwise, what is the reference point for everything is passing? There must be something which is not passing, with which we can then report saying, okay, everything is passing.
Yeah.
So even though it may not be like a conscious exercise, you're saying, okay, but there is a unchanging witness, and that is not passing, but everything else is passing. And yet, it is impossible to say everything is passing unless we rely on that. Because everything is passing, then we are not saying I am also passing along with it. We're saying everything is passing and it comes and goes for me, for my reality.
Yeah.
And if we did not have that as an intuitive reference point to make that statement, you would say, okay, I'm also passing along with it. So then everything is not passing because we are all just in the river together.
Yeah.
But your heart or intuition relies on the seeing that I remained unchangingly the witnessing of everything, and there is nothing that really attacks my reality. It just comes, it appears for a bit, and it goes. Sometimes it lingers longer, sometimes it doesn't linger so much, but it goes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see these things because even the notion of, say, infinity, we've never had the experience of infinity phenomenally, and yet it is something that we can all relate to. So there must be an intuitive reference point with which that makes sense, otherwise, it would be completely crazy notion.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very good to see that. To contemplate this is also very good. Because, of course, we could be saying everything is passing because we've been told. But like the report that you shared, something seems so big, is it? And after a while, it's gone. But I noticed that everything goes like this. When it comes, there may be some apprehension about it, but it just goes.
Yeah.
And embedded in that statement is that I remain untouched by it. Otherwise, we would not say everything is passing. We would
Yeah.
not say that I remain untouched by it. You see, but that recognition of remaining untouched is only possible in the intuitive recognition of the self.
Yeah. So it's not. Would you say that? Would you say, like, because you said it's based on it, so obviously, like, there has to first of all be the recognition everything's changing. Well, maybe not, but it seems like that's quite, certainly in my experience, that recognition everything's changing, and then it's like, then arises, okay, so what's not changing, very naturally, but it almost feels like that's a subsequent recognition.
Yes. This is true.
Is that the case, would you say?
Because the intellect needs process. You see, the
Yeah.
intellect needs steps. And why I said it's based on that is because on the just naked understanding of yourself, then if we impose or superimpose notions of time and thinginess, you see, then although it is pointing to that same and it's based on that same recognition of the self, to say everything is passing, then we've imposed already the notions of time and objectiveness, objectivity in some way, which is okay. We have to, for communication, we have to impose some.
You just say that last part again, sorry.
Yeah. So when we say everything is passing, we looked at how that has to be based on some intuitive sense of that which is not passing.
Yeah.
You see, we looked at that. But and from that perspective, actually from that, let's use the term pure perspective, it is impossible to say anything, including everything is passing. Because there is no thing or time to be able to conclude that. But to use that as a reference point, you see, and then to be for the purpose of communication, impose the regular notions of time and the objective nature of the appearance. Everything and passing are based on those notions, you see, which are imposed on that intuitive insight of the self, and then we can say a statement like that, which of course is a pointer, is provisional, and yet it depends on a true self-recognition.
Yeah, that resonates a lot because I think sometimes there's I experience maybe frustration or maybe even doubt because we're so used to processing what we realize through the mind and through language, and this just doesn't fit. And so sometimes it's like, oh, well, maybe I haven't had that recognition then, is what the mind brings, because I can't explain it to you or I can't find the right words. And actually, maybe it just never can be reduced.
Can never. Very good. Very good.
Beautiful.
Very good. Actually, I've been emphasizing this point, and this is very, very important. So it can never be reduced. I like the term you used. It can never be reduced to that level. You see, it can never be reduced to the level of conceptualization and therefore an intellectual understanding. You see? And that is, in a way, is what I was trying to convey in my example of everything is circle. Everything is circle, circle, circle. But we can understand only square, square, square. So because of our conditioning, because of schooling, because of learning in the traditional methods in the world, we've been told that till you can make a square out of everything, you're not making progress, you're not getting anywhere. You see? But this, what we are finding in satsang, what we are coming to simple, simple self-recognition is only difficult because we can never convert it into a square. You see? Therefore, it can seem like when will the search end? Is my search or are my insights even authentic?
Mm.
So this kind of doubt can come because the mind will come and say, but tell me, what have you found?
Mm.
See? And you say, okay, I see that I don't come and go. But how do you see it? You don't see it. You see? You can doubt these things because actually you don't perceive it. And to the mind, all seeing means perceiving.
Mm.
The mind seeing is believing in a way. So, but you don't see this I, and yet you recognize it with a deeper knowledge. You see? And so, with a simple question like, who's aware of the perception of this hand? Each and every one of you is coming to self-recognition. Every one of you is coming to self-recognition, and it's not alien to you or new to you. You see, but you're learning to let go of your mind's objections to try and make some
Yeah.
meaning to that,
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely.
achievement out of that, or some attainment out of that.
Yeah.
And go of that mind slavery is freedom. The need to come up with satisfactory answers for our mind is mental slavery.
Yeah. It's so fascinating because when you said that, like what came into my mind is that you know, if I go and look at my house and say, oh, okay, my house is painted yellow, and then go inside, the chance of me suddenly 5 minutes later having a doubt, like, oh, maybe it's green actually, and doubting what I've seen is very small. Like it doesn't crop up in my mind, and yet to do with the recognition of what I am, it's like we've had so many beautiful moments where there's been like so much clarity, and yet there's this persistent doubts which keep coming and well, maybe you're not there yet, maybe you haven't experienced the self, how do you know how? And it maybe that is just because it doesn't fit into experience and it doesn't fit into thought, and perhaps it's just a habit to continue to try and make it fit.
Exactly.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting, really interesting.
It's a nice one. And this is what keeps tripping us up. So that's why sometimes we ask, so if you did have that recognition, what would be different? And then
Yeah.
mind will say, oh, there'd be more peace. But that has nothing to do with that which is beyond quality, because peace is also a quality. You see?
Yeah.
So you realize the shallowness of the mind. When you reverse the question and say, okay, so I haven't had the recognition, how would I know if I had it? What evidence can I use to prove that I had it? It's a beautiful question. So if I tell all of you that you are recognizing yourself right now, how would you know that it's true or not true? What benchmark, what comparative index can we use? Can we use something which is not phenomenal? You see? And then the mind presents these super lame ideas of, oh, if you had the recognition that you are all there is, in fact, you are the light in which all there is appears, then one tiny aspect called a body in all there is would exhibit more peace or more light or something like that. How silly is that? You see? So the mind's ideas of what freedom should be like are very far from the reality of the freedom that already is.
There'll always be something, won't there, that the mind can point to and say, oh, that's evidence. It's like that, you know,
Always.
that's really authentic. There'll be always something.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah, it's
So
amazing.
the only advice then is to not try to prove to the mind.
Yeah.
Not try to prove anything to the mind.
Yeah, it's like it's doomed from the moment that the mind's engaged. It's doomed, isn't it? Like looking at it now, I see that. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. There was something interesting that I wanted to share because I suppose like I noticed it's not really spoken about so much in Satsang now, and I think that's also really cool, you know. But like just on the level of the human being, let's say, you know, like that continual, it's like a reflection almost of it's connected but not connected at the same time, that this recognition, and then there's like a softening, and there's a more kindness, more understanding, more compassion, and that kind of thing. And something that came to my awareness recently was like this old habit where do you know what nagging means? Like, I don't know if that's just a very, yeah, I wasn't sure if it's like just a very local term here, but I really don't like being nagged by people, you know. It's like, and when I sort of observed it, it's like it was a feeling of like freedom being taken away from me, you know, as though freedom is something, again, phenomenal, like not having responsibilities and stuff. And what I've noticed, like just completely by itself, is, you know, like there's been a few episodes recently where there's been this kind of sense of nagging, and I see that old pull to just run away, or to kind of close the door, or to just, you know, wriggle out of it. And something in me just feels like, no, like stand with it, you know, be in it, like allow it. And there's so much greater freedom in that.
Yeah.
I can't explain it, but there's just this sense of real freedom of like no longer being controlled by what the personality or the persona likes or doesn't like, you know. It's just somehow so spacious, even though it might be uncomfortable, you know. And so I'm grateful for that, because I really feel like you're with
It's
me,
very
you know.
good. It's very good.
Yeah.
In fact, we had a very nice conversation a few weeks ago with Mahesh about a similar thing, where he was saying that sometimes you just get a message in a relationship, you just receive a message and you just feel like, oh, that's an attack, and I was feeling so nice and free, why did you have to say that? And you know, and the message was just, are you okay? You know, it was just like that. So it could have been anything, it doesn't matter. And we had a nice chat about this, and saying how even this can be met in so much openness, without having to impose our ideas about what this means and what someone wants or doesn't want, and most importantly about trying to protect a particular state of freedom or space, and the idea that something can come and infringe on that space or make us less free. It's a very nice contemplation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's really lovely to talk
You know, it's
to you.
so funny that I was just mentioning you to my in-laws yesterday. You know,
Yeah.
and I hope you won't mind me sharing this story, but I was talking to my in-laws, and uh, my father-in-law was in the army and things, so he likes his drinks and things like that, or used to when he was younger. So we were just somehow talking about this topic, and I was saying, no, I've never really had a drink. And I remembered, okay, let me take that back. It was Govind, who was living in Bangalore, and he wanted to help me with probiotics. No? He said, make kombucha. Was it kombucha? And so So Govind was experimenting with barrels of sugar, water, I don't know, something. And so one day he got to me these what were the glasses or bottles, I don't know, something. And he said, I'll try this. And at that time, there was some report had come about my kidney. So people were saying, I need to improve my gut health and bacteria and something. So he said, okay, try this. This is probiotic. And I'm experimenting with just the right taste. So will you try it out? But of course, I love to try out. So that night, I remember I had a bit of it, maybe half the bottle or something. And usually I was going for walks after every night before sleeping. And that day, during a walk, I was just feeling very sleepy. They may rest, like I need to rest. So I just went to sleep, and somewhere I felt like, oh, there was something. Let me talk to Govind tomorrow. The next day I tell Govind, are you sure there was nothing in those drinks? Because, I felt a bit sleepy, and are you sure it wasn't like alcoholic or something? No, father, it was so good. In fact, I had so much of that, he says. I had so much of that, and I felt so energetic and so alive. I feel like you had too little. Just have some more. So, I feel like you need to have some more. So I went back and I had the full bottle. And again, I just felt so sleepy. Yeah, so then I didn't tell him anything because he was very convinced that it's all fine. So I said, good, it was good because I got some nice rest. So after a week or something, he said, Father, I think I may have gotten you drunk. So what happened? I was just because he was going to do some business with it. He was just making notes. He was taking a few sips. He was tasting and then making notes. He said, as I was doing this, I realized after a few sips and notes, I couldn't understand my notes anymore. So I realized then that I gave Ananta this. So what had happened apparently is that the sugar went the wrong way. The sugar can either become like probiotics or bacteria or something, or it can become all alcoholic and fermented and things. So I was just telling them the story and entertaining them yesterday. A fun time.
Yeah, you took it very well.
Both the drink and what had happened here. Both. Actually, we have some Christian friends who are very close to us, so we call them uncle and auntie. So on Christmas, we used to go to their house and they would like insist that we have a little bit of wine. And what would happen after just that little bit of wine is I would just feel like singing bhajans. I would sing bhajan. We came back home, I was still singing bhajan. I was going to sleep, I was still singing bhajan. So my experiences with this have not been terrible. So not that I'm going to make a habit of it. Shiva's Riga. Talking to someone the other day, and I don't know how we got to the topic of this drink called Shiva's Regal. And somebody said, Shiva's Regal. Okay, it doesn't translate so well on Zoom. The Satsang version of Shiva's Regal is Shiva's Regal. It's been almost 2 years since we've had a lot of Sangha in Bangalore and things.
Yeah.
It's fun. It was nice to have all of your kids here.
You know what's interesting? Like, obviously, I'm looking forward to coming back to Bangalore and being with you all very much. but also, like, you know, being in England here, there's just certain things that come up, you know, which I'm so grateful for, you know, and I don't feel like anything's missing, like anywhere I go, you know, and it's amazing. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mm. Thanks, Father. It's lovely to speak to you.
Same.
Mm.
Love you, love you.
Love you too. Love you lots. Mm.
Let's go to Etienne. Hello, my dear.
Thank you. Yeah. I really don't know. I'm feeling a bit like lost and in translation.
Yeah.
Also because because I'm struggling also because I'm not so. I understand quite everything, but well, because the sound is not so good and so on. But anyway, it's not only about that. It's also because I still feel you you are the benchmark, and and yeah, that's the simplest way I can put it, because uh, I struggled with being really empty, open and empty, and alone, and I come back to the image I had the last time we talked about becoming where the light is, to look where the light is, even if we've lost things in another place.
You say the last part,
because
my dear?
you're there.
Just say the
Yeah,
last part.
yeah, yes, we were talking. I was mentioning the idea of looking for what we've lost in the place where there's light,
Ah,
because you are there, and because you are the light we rely upon somehow. So it is also a childish feeling to need to look for. It's on one hand the childish feeling, but it's also an adult feeling. It's also because we are lost in a new way. We're not the same lost as we were as children. So this not holding to anything anymore
yes.
is just it seems so crazy, although we do it all the time. But
Yeah.
we our mind doesn't want it, doesn't trust,
Yeah.
and so we are hanging to you,
Yeah.
because you just radiate this this freedom. I cannot speak. I say we, but I should say I, because I feel, I just feel attracted. That's how the image from light, the going to the light came. I just feel attracted because of a vibration, of a freedom, and I know this freedom is also somewhere in me, but
Yes.
but I must say I am avoiding it, you know, and so I'm like my only flight is going to
I don't know if you can hear this, my dear, but you're frozen, the audio as well as the video. Can't hear. Okay, we'll wait for him to come. Let's go to Jada.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me, Father? It's my new experiment.
I hear you very well.
Okay, okay. How are you?
I'm good, my dear. I'm good.
Yeah, there was something which I wanted to bring. And during Satsang, it actually became so clear what it was actually. And also Govind share a little bit about this. And sorry. After you give me the experiment of what was that? The attention thing. Anyway, it's
But what was the? Remind me. What was the assignment?
okay. It was that what you know where attention cannot go, if I
Yes.
say correctly. Yeah.
What do you know where, but not as a result of your attention being on it, independent of your attention? What is that? Yes.
Yes. And sorry, my attention went anywhere, somewhere else. And yeah, I could follow it so beautifully because the answer was already in the thing itself, the sentence you have given me. And of course, attention is only in the perception, like attention only can move in perception. And when you see this already, you are out of this.
Well, we call perception this the content of this attention. We call that is what we call perception. What attention seems to bring back to us. But what is independent of this perception or attention? That is the discovery for which we come to satsang. Even if we don't realize that that is why we come. Why we come. Because somewhere in our heart we already know that everything in perception is always changing. So there's no point holding that too strongly. That will only cause trouble. So that much recognition most of us have had, that there's no point clinging on to that which is changing. So in our heart, whether we are able to articulate it that way or not, we must be searching for some stability. You see? And stability can only come from the unchanging. It can never come from the changing. You see? So whether we realize it or not, we are looking for peace, we are looking for stability, and it cannot come. Like I used to joke about this and say, wanting peace or stability in the world is like tying yourself to a drunk donkey and expecting a stable life. You see, it just doesn't happen because every layer of your existence in this world is constantly changing. Everything, what you see, what you feel, the state of your body, the thoughts in your head, everything is constantly changing. So to expect that to be stable is like trying to ride a drunken buffalo. So how to find this stability? How to find this stability must come from that which is the unchanging. And if you recognize that you remain unaffected by whatever the change may be, then that is the end of suffering.
Okay,
but
so
the goal sometimes also gets in the way because embedded in the expectation of the end of suffering is the idea of a me. So there comes a point where the master says, forget even about the end of suffering. Just truth for truth's sake. Whose end of suffering are we looking for? And although we may say, oh, I actually want it for everyone. You see, we won't like it if everyone got it but me. So, and we want it for my world because it's mine. So the me
sorry
is
for the last part I missed.
You see, sometimes when we are very spiritual, we'll say, if I say, whose end of suffering are you looking for? You may say, I want everyone to come to the end of suffering. And I may say, but what if everyone comes to the end of their suffering except you, except the me? Then no, I don't want that. You see? So this me that wants to, the me that is the notion of suffering itself. You see, like a dog chasing its own tail. The suffering itself says, I want to come to the end of suffering.
Yeah,
That try to take you away from that loop, which is never ending. Because one problem solved, the next problem comes. One problem solved, next problem comes. It is never ending. That is the state of the human condition. The only stability, the only short circuit out of this loop is to come to self recognition and not to confuse yourself with that which is false.
so Father, what I realize is that after looking to this,
What is the answer? You said
answer,
you made it in the question, but let me hear it from you. What is it? What is it that you know that is not in your attention?
I have to check again for giving an answer.
Sure. Take your time. This is the most important question. Take as much time as you like.
Okay, I just see attention cannot go anywhere. Mm,
It's okay. It's okay. Take your time. Don't worry. Is there something is there something which is clear to you, but it does not rely on your perception of it, neither on a concept of it, beyond both of these? That is worth looking for.
but I don't.
Huh?
But I don't feel like this. I mean, there is a movement, Father, and this is bothers me for more than a week. There is a
What
movement.
is is the witness of the movement also a perception?
I need to hear the question again.
The witness of the movement or the witnessing of the movement also a perception?
No.
Okay. How do you know that?
When you ask, this become clear, even though it is always, but when you ask, I realize it. Otherwise, this unconscious moment just goes on.
Okay. Let's wait there. So this is good. So when the question of inquiry is asked, in whichever way it is asked, then something becomes apparent to us. You see? But even when it is apparent to us, it doesn't become a perception, does it?
It cannot.
It cannot. Very good. Very good. You see? So this is self-recognition, independent of perception. What do you recognize yourself to be then? What are the attributes of the witness?
When you ask this to me, the only word I can give is just me. I cannot find any word other than this, just me.
Now, this you, what can affect it, hurt it, break it?
Funny questions.
Not applicable. Very good. So is there another you?
Yes.
Where is that one? So it's just an idea or a set of ideas believed in, make up this false identity. And as long as we keep trying to resolve things for that bundle of ideas. You see, life will, the seeking for the truth may go on and on.
So
So if you take yourself to be, if you don't take yourself to be what the mind is presenting you are, and you take yourself to be that insight which you have when I ask you the question, then
but I don't know if I take myself as this or not. What I know is that there is that movement and it just continuously going on. And okay, please let me share this.
there's a simple way to check. There's a simple way to check. Like you said, I don't know, whether I do that. Who is the I? Who is the I that you're referring to in that statement?
Oh,
Is it again the mind presented I?
yeah.
Don't do that. It's as simple as saying, I'm saying to you there's a puddle or a ditch in front of you. Don't step into that, otherwise you will have mud on your shoes. You see? Now, don't step into that, but if you step into that, you will have mud on your shoes. If you continue to consume thoughts which are presenting a version of you which is limited, then if you end up believing that you are limited, that's bound to happen. You as consciousness has the power to let it go, or the power to make it seem true. You see? So you as consciousness has to let go of that. That's why Satsang is consciousness speaking with consciousness. I cannot speak to you as Jada, because Jada is a non-existent entity, and a non-existent entity can't let go or hold on. So this is just consciousness having this monologue.
So you said, Father, you have to let go. What did you say? I missed this. You give some instruction and I couldn't hear.
Let go of the mind's representations about yourself. And if you need to rely on any representation, then rely on the representation in the insight that you have when I ask you a question about satsang.
But with this knowing, sorry, but this question comes with this knowing, okay, it's just so
From where?
apparent.
Comes from where?
Excuse me?
Where does it come from? You can recognize the source of the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Where does it come from?
From concern.
No. Suppose
Okay,
that
only the person can concern.
There are two voices. One is the mind's representations of your reality, and your second is your heart or your intuitive representation of your reality. Where is the question coming from?
Okay, I need clarification. So maybe it comes from here to for you to clear something.
The way to check that is that in your question, what is your representation as? Is it as a body mind?
Yeah.
Then it's from the mind. The intuition doesn't make limited representations about us.
But I'm not sure of it.
Who isn't? This is not a. It's a very natural thing, where the master will keep saying, "Go to the root," because that is where all the problems stem from. And the mind will keep saying, no, but if you help with this branch, if you just help me with this branch because I have this problem, you see, and you just help me with that, the rest I'll take care of. You see, but these branches never end. And now I've been sharing satsang for 8 years, and I've seen how those branches don't end. We can keep going on and on. till we come to a point of really coming to the crux of all of this. You see? And at the crux of all of this, you see, there has to be trust to see that even if I seem to solve it for myself or with the master's help, as long as I'm representing myself as a limited bundle of flesh and blood and a collection of thoughts, suffering is not going to go away. There's only one inevitability for this body, which is death. The mind means nothing because it's just thoughts which come and go. So it's born and dying, over and over, a million births and deaths. You see? So what is it that the master is doing? It's pointing you to that which is the unborn and the undying. Now your mind will say, but I don't want that. But if you didn't want that, then you would not be here week after week. So somewhere in your heart you want that. That's why I keep saying, why would you keep coming to a Chinese restaurant if you only wanted Italian food?
Because what this one wants, actually, I don't want, and I know that it doesn't go anywhere.
Very good.
I'm just so clear, and yet it
Yet.
shows.
This is the thing. So if you are clear, then forget the yet.
No. No, because it just, Father, please.
Any triangular relationship is suffering. You see, so if you have a relationship with master and mind, it's going to be suffering. It's full of confusion. If you want to hold both hands, maybe trouble will come.
Yes. So this.
Like that's what we want. As long as you're clear, I want suffering, it's fine then.
But it represents me as there is something in it, and I believe it, and I continue to believe. No, I don't believe. I don't believe. I don't believe.
Highest representation. Tell me the mind's highest representation of you, and I'll tell you that it's garbage.
No, Father, why there is a playing, and
it cannot fathom your greatness. It cannot fathom your magnificence. It cannot fathom the extent of your being.
It's still being. No, I cannot bring it now.
It's just habit, Naguda. It's just habit that having suffered from millions of false representations and falling into the same trap again and again, when it presents something to us, it seems like, oh, maybe there's something to this and it is not fooling us this time.
It still tries to sell me. No, oh my goodness. Oh.
Very good, very good, very good. Allow yourself this discomfort of not feeling represented, not being able to share uh, your true story or something like that. You see? It's fine because it's not true anyway. And I'm taking away this mental slavery from you, which is presenting all of these representations, you see, which seem to have so much gravity, But soon you will see that it's nothing. It's nothing.
And I want to offer all the remaining parts which somehow it has power to.
Very good.
Because there are still some parts which can creep in, and yeah, I offer them to you. And it's all, of course, about person, and it doesn't mean anything now. Just don't let me fall into this again, and just don't let me, I don't believe it anymore, but just don't let me go and spend more time with it anymore. And give me strength to really be here what you have shown to me.
I'm with you on this. I'm with you on this completely.
I know.
Very good. Okay, thank you, my dear. Let's go to Marine. Marine. Martin? How do you say? Sorry, I ask you every time.
Marijn.
Marine.
Yeah, namaste, Father. Actually, interesting. My phone might die any moment, so it's a good feeling, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wish not to waste any words, any moment. In general, you know, to really fully live. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Yes. As long as fully is just open and natural and effortless, and not like fully.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
it's like
sometimes I do that in a very egoic way also. I'm going to live life fully. So what can I take out of this moment, and what can I take out of this moment? You see, then it becomes very egoic. But I hear your words and the sense where they're coming from. It's just fully, not distracting yourself with mind nonsense, not taking yourself to be false representation. Just open, just pure perception. That's good enough.
Yeah.
That's
it's the best.
the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel it's just, I mean, I don't know why I'm so blessed. Yeah. Yeah. To have you to speak to directly in this way, so accessible, is such a, yeah, indescribable gift. And to have Babaji in my heart and in my life, it's really biggest blessing. Yeah, there was this a week ago I saw Satsang with Babaji, and this sentence came up that really is with me since then, and it was actually someone read it on these little notes that Babaji made, and the sentence is, "I am the relationship with my master." Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. And it's just, again, kind of affirming this same deepest heart wish to just be fully in that, and no nonsense. Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
And actually, it's more and more clear that it's the easiest thing. It's not. It's effortless in itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very good. It's very good to see that. The master is only saying, let go of effort. Let go of effort. And to the mind, that can seem like, oh, I have to stay with the master's presence. or I have to stay as the self, and that seems like it's too much effort. I try sometimes, it works, other times it doesn't work. You see, all these conceptual ideas. But in your most natural, in your most effortless, that is it. And it's here, you see. You can't stop it actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to share actually something that I've noticed also in watching satsang. More and more, I have this experience of the words are there, but somehow I'm just in your darshan, and there's just it's just the words are so like the waves. Yeah,
I
and
have
it's
this.
fun. It's also it's in a way it feels a bit new and funny or something.
It is.
But also very
Repeat this part.
joyful. Hmm?
Just repeat this part. It was breaking up a bit. In a
Yeah,
way,
in a well, I was saying in a way it feels new or funny, but actually it doesn't so much. It's just maybe there's some old habit of the just that language and words need to be kind of listened to actively or something. But actually, now I'm saying this, I notice now actually it can just be, and it will be absorbed what needs to be absorbed, and I don't need to kind of yeah.
very good. Very,
Yeah.
no personal intervention is required. If consciousness, consciousness, no personal intervention is needed.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm very happy to hear your report today. Very nice.
Yeah, me too.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, my love. Thank you. Now, let's go to Kisha.
Hello.
Hi, dear.
I'd like to share a dream I had last night. I appeared at your feet, and there was just so much love. And you held me like a child. And I woke up with just so much love in my heart for you. And a prayer that connection, that I just always remain in your lap as a child. And it was just so beautiful, and it's hard to convey it in the way that I want to, in the way that you can feel it. I want to be with you, and I want to be with Guruji. And for so long I wanted it to be physical, like near you. But I'm not sure that will happen. But that doesn't have to lessen the connection. It can still be really strong and really true and really close. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Thank you for sharing. Very, very beautiful. And you conveyed it very beautifully.
Thank you. And I wrote a sentence that was just, I jotted it down, and it felt like a summary of this satsang,
Yeah.
which could be portrayed as another conclusion, but
Okay.
I would like to read it.
Yeah.
Every thought, every want, conclusion, or doubt just pauses what is naturally awakened already.
That's very good. That's very good. I like it. Every thought, every want, conclusion, or doubt causes what is naturally awakened. It does seem to do that. That's all. It's the seeming pause.
I love you.
You feel, my dear. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to. Oh, Etienne is back. Let's see.
Sorry,
Oh, Etienne, you just.
I my
Yeah.
my credit was finished.
Oh,
I
I'm
didn't have
sorry.
internet, so
That's
uh, yeah. So I I I try. Yeah, I know. Well, my point was just the feeling of why do I or thing or come uh, reach my to you this way, and I feel it because I was saying it because you're just I just feel your freedom, and it's good for me. It's just good for me. So it's like opening the window when it's sticky, and and so I guess I was listening the last talking just 2 minutes ago, and I think the Guru Kripa Kevalam is really what I'm talking about, and I've been I think I was talking about being childish or looking for recognition or looking for talking of the benchmark and how could we be how do you say yeah you could say, oh come my son, you're welcome, you're welcome home, you know, and so there is a dream of this kind of thing in the heart, you know, and this is this is true on one hand, and there is also a trap in there in that, and I I must see um, but I want to see the Guru Kripa Kevalam. Yeah, I want to see this side because I think I've been struggling to be autonomous and
Mhm.
to understand and because of this understanding, I would also feel pissed off, or I don't know the right word. I feel frustrated,
Yeah.
and then all these ways, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I said the most important.
Very nice report. Very nice. Beautiful.
It's
Beautiful. I can relate with it.
the
I can
kind
relate.
of
I
yeah,
can relate with it.
yeah,
Um, Till I came to Guruji on the hot seat, I spent many years like this. I spent many years just feeling like when is it going to happen here? When will the master acknowledge me, my freedom, all of these things? And then you're right to see this that all is master's grace, Guru Kripa Kevalam is is beautiful. But what the master is saying is that it's fully yours. You're already home. You see, you're already home, and in a way, it's a welcome home. But this is my constant reminder to you: don't presume that you have left home, because it is
yeah,
that presumption itself which is separation or individuality. So, welcome home, and
Exactly.
and I'm happy that you're right here at home. All that gets in the way, let it be my problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes. So thank you.
all my love, all my love.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ananta.
Thank you, my love. Thank you. Very good. Let's go to Jogan. Jogan, I've not heard from for some time.
Hi,
My dear.
you remember me? That's so cool.
Of course,
I'm actually crying out of gratitude right now. And I just wanted to say that I usually don't raise my hand and I send you notes every so often. I'm just actually what I wanted to say was you always answer everything that's going on. Obviously, it's always for a person. So I end up never coming up and raising my hands. But today I just wanted to come up and raise my hand and say hi for no reason and saying thank you. Thank you for the effortlessness. Thank you for the effortlessness. Thank you so much, Guruji.
so welcome. So welcome.
Thank you, yeah.
Welcome.
You know, I'm traveling and my family is all in mind and scared, and I'm also scared, but I'm okay. And you know, I'm seeing that this whole scaredness has brought the family together.
Huh? What?
The scaredness,
Yeah.
the mind is scared, na?
Yes.
So the fear has actually got my uncle to talk to me after I don't even know how many years,
I see.
25 years, yeah. So I really see the grace of effortlessness. Obviously, the story of the person continues and you watch, but this recognition of the fact that everything moves, but I'm not moving. You know, sometimes I'm here, but Rishikesh comes and goes. Muji Baba comes and goes. You come and go. My nonsense also comes and goes in the same space. But I don't even move. I travel, but I don't move. I'm stuck in the now. Morning happens, sometimes night happens, sometimes sleep happens, but I'm trapped in the now, and it's not a kind of trap.
Is the
It's
now
a
trapped in you, or are you trapped in the now? What is the relationship? Let's get that.
that's so cool. Am I trapped in the now? Now trapped in
Well,
the
now should be complaining. I'm always trapped in the self. What to do? How can I get out of it?
oh. I even have this.
It's worth contemplating. Is time stuck in us,
Yes.
or just stuck in some moment in time?
No, that's just me.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm just having some
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. Thank you, Guruji.
So welcome. So welcome.
Charan
I'm happy
Sparsh
to hear
Kare.
you like this.
Pardon?
I'm happy to hear you like this as well.
Arey, yeah, you know, you told me come to Bangalore. This Kadudu did not come to Bangalore. Instead, you came to Bombay, yeah. Every day you've been in Bombay, you've been here only. This is all, you know, obviously, I don't know how else to express actually outside of saying it as a person.
It's perfectly fine. It's perfect.
I'm so
Great.
grateful. Thank you.
So well.
Hugs and hugs and hugs and hugs.
all my love, all my blessings. Okay. You can go to Madalena, then Georgina.
Namaste, Anantaji. I just wanted to thank you. um, and to leave a prayer with you. That I remain open and empty. Until there is very clear there is no separation. Between me and you. And until there is no doubt in who I truly am.
Completely with you in this prayer.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you so much. Very good. Let's go to Georgina.
Hello, Father.
Oh, my dear.
There's a lot of resistance to ask this question because it sounds like a very conceptual question, but I've had it for such a long time, and I think you're the only one that can answer it.
I'll try. Let's see.
Okay. I've been wondering about the soul and if it exists, and I once heard you use the word Jivatma, I think, as the individual soul. And so that's what I am talking about when I mean the soul, like the individual soul, because I hear in so many spiritualities they talk about, for instance, karma and something that stays throughout even lifetimes, and sometimes also I think about the expression of the masters, that even after realization there seems to be something in the expression that is beyond identity and that is unique to something. And I was wondering whether this, how it relates to how to reconcile all those things with satsang. With is it what we call the expression? Is it what we call mind? Is it neither of them? Is it part of reality, or is it in part reality and in part mind? What is it?
Good, good, good. I had these questions. I remember I had a lot of these questions. I don't know if I came up with satisfactory answers or the question just went away, but I will try to answer some of
Yes, I was waiting for it to go away throughout the whole satsang. And it kept coming back, and I didn't want to raise my hand because but yeah, it's been here for a long time.
Sure. So, what happened is that you're right. I use the term Jivatma at times, and usually I use it under the umbrella of saying that this individualization never happened. No? But let's not start with that conclusion. Let's really look at it in some depth because we've carried it for some time. So let's see if we can really dissect it.
Yeah.
Actually, India, it may sound like to in the Western countries that there's one movement called Advaita Vedanta, and then there's Dvaita Vedanta, then there's other movements which are not Vedanta. But it may seem like it is one Advaita Vedanta. But actually, there are tens of Advaita Vedanta, and all the combinations are based on the relationship of the big Atma, Paramatma, and the little Atma or the individualized Atma called Jivatma, right? And then the third variable is the world or the apparent world called Jagat. So based on these three variables, as many combinations as you can make, there are lines of Advaita Vedanta and people who believe in those, right? So there is Shuddha Advaita Vedanta, Keval Advaita Vedanta, Veda Advaita Vedanta, Veda Advaita Vedanta. There are many, many types. So some will say that actually there is one being, one God, one consciousness, but within that an apparent difference came, but that difference is not really strong. So it's like fire and the spark. You see, so what is the difference between fire and spark? Or big fire and flame? You see? Or ocean and wave? So there is a distinction, but it's not so big. You see, some will say there is like a should or cable, they will say no distinction has ever happened. You see? Some will say, no, no, a slight distinction has happened. That's why we have to go back home. You see, that's why we have to return to the reality. If no distinction had not, if the distinction had not happened, where is the question of returning? You see?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not going to presume that in this conversation we will solve this conundrum, which has been there for hundreds of years. You see? We cannot solve it because everybody, and they're very learned sages, everyone in those different movements of Advaita Vedanta, everyone has very convincing things to say. You see?
Yes.
So then, because we cannot resolve it from that level, what is the level at which we can try and look at it? We have to look at it from our direct experience. Because satsang, at least direct satsang like this, has to rely on what is truly seen or clear here. See? So that is my attempt. My attempt is to guide you to this direct insight yourself. Now, I can tell you that when I notice or look at the being and try to find a boundary or separation between my discovery of God and the being here, I can find not an ounce or iota of distinction. You see? I cannot find that distinction, and that's why from this mouth I have to say that this separation never occurred. Now, you may say that when I see a subtle boundary, it's not really real, but there is one. You see, and I cannot argue and will not argue with that. You see, because that is your experience, your direct experience. So if you say, no, I feel like some individualization has happened, and this is what my experience shows me, say, okay. You see, the one thing that is clear in all of this is that the person never happened. So we are not even talking about the ego and any of
No.
that.
No. No. No.
Isn't
No.
it? So we're just saying, in terms of the being itself, is there any distinction? I have to say with all honesty, in my experience, no. You see? But if someone else says, "Oh, in my being, it seems like there are some waves like this, and there's some distinction like that," then you may conform to some other form of Advaita Vedanta, or you may even create a new one. So that, that is not something that troubles me at all. As long as we are clear that this make-believe person has never taken birth, and it's all just consciousness playing with itself, with whichever way it is playing, you see, we are completely fine. So I would just lead you in this direction and say, go to your being and see if there's a boundary, any separation, any sort of distinction, and and this being is the only God that I have found. See, and it is beyond any boundary, any notion of time or space. So that is why I have to speak like that. That was about the Jivatma. What is your feeling? Do you have a feeling now, having just checked for yourself?
Well, when we check, there's not the question of Jivatma or anything like that. So this is why I feel the question is more conceptual, but it comes up when there is relationship with other things such as healing, for instance, especially healing. It comes up because I hear the words so much, and also because I think of the story even beyond this lifetime, and that's what I think of, I guess, when I think of the soul.
So my advice would be to take anything that is conceptual not so seriously. And that may include what we feel like is very important to us, and we feel like something may go away. Like if some healing is happening, what if I lose the idea of individualization of consciousness? Will the healing stop happening? No, it doesn't have to function like that. Nothing is as reliant on our idea of things as we may believe it is. So,
Can you
in your,
repeat the last thing you said?
nothing is as reliant on our notion or idea of it as we may believe it to be. You see? So, uh, there could be like this idea. I don't know if this is what you were implying. That if I lose the notion of this individualized consciousness, then will the healing that happens to this one or through this one, will that stop? No, it doesn't work like that. You see, because concepts are the interpretations of what is manifesting. You see, there is just like there's a commentator who's chronicling the event and saying, okay, this is what happened, this is what happened. And if you have 100 different commentators, each of them will have different chronicles.
Yeah.
So that chronicle never interferes with what is playing out. So you don't have to worry about that. So the grace, which is God's grace, whether it has to work with a, with a concept of full separation. Oh, I'm just a tiny little old me. Please, God, save me. It may work, you see. And if it has to work, we are one. There are no two. It's all one being, one heart. It may work. You see, or neither may work. Who can say how things will play out? We can never see. So, uh, concepts mostly useful if you're communicating, if you want to get your point across in some way or point in a particular way. In that way, you can employ them. But if you feel like you need to use them for something else, go straight to the heart of it. Like if healing works, then what gives it the power to work? If there's a particular technique, if there is a particular technique, say pranic healing or Reiki or whatever the technique may be, you see, the Reiki could not have invented Reiki, no? So something was inherently there which gave the power for this to work or not work. You see? So when you are in the refuge of the source itself, then you don't have to worry so much about whether that aspect will play out or not. You're going straight to the source of it, where all the intelligence, where all the functioning, everything that has to play out will work. Now, uh, I'll get in trouble for this, but since you asked, uh, I'm not a great believer in the notion of karma because it sounds to me like a glorified way to explain that which is beyond explanation. You see? And because it is so oppressive to the human mind to say, I do not understand how this life functions, you see, and how these things which apparently are good or these things which apparently are bad would happen to those in this way, then let's try to come up with something which explains all of this and put life in a nice little box of explanation and say this is how this moves. You see? So what was the source of the first karma? What is the origin of karma itself? So then we say, okay, God activated it. God activated it as the first cause or the first mover. You see? Then what are we saying? He activated it and he stopped. You see? If he's the first mover, then he just did the first move, then he's just waiting to, okay, let's see how, you know. So all of these are a bit, even the position that I am taking about it is not like a true position or something. It is just to show you that all positions are fragile and that they're just conceptual. And we don't need to understand how life functions conceptually. We can just meet life in the heart where nothing is confusing.
Yes. I suppose that there was, yeah, just because I understand what you're sharing now. But just because we, in Satsang, we still talk about mind and we talk about our ego, even though they don't exist and are not part of the manifest, this is why I was wondering, I suppose, why do we talk about that but not about, even if it's not real, even if no concept will really encapsulate truth, this is why I was wondering.
It's good. These are good contemplations. I remember contemplating all of these. Like one other notion which I used to carry very strongly earlier, but then it got dropped after meeting Guruji, is the notion of predetermination. You see, many
Yes,
students have also used the term predetermined, everything is predetermined, but they used it only with the feeling that it'll bring our mind to rest. Like, don't worry, everything is already how it is destined to be. You see? But to put consciousness in the box of time saying, okay, now at the beginning of time, it wrote the script, you see, and now everything has to play out according to that script, and even God cannot change it, this kind of thing is putting God too much in this linear notion of time. So time is not this way. And to put God in a conceptually understandable idea of time and say, okay, before time it was all written, you see, is all our attempts to try and make sense of that, which is so beyond our limited understanding, you see, but not beyond our intuition. Like which time are we talking about anyway? Like even if there was a transmigration, huh? There was
yes,
transmigration, the cycle of birth and death. You see, which time are we talking about? Where does all that happen?
no, yeah,
And can all, like, if I was to represent consciousness, would I represent consciousness in such a linear timeline? I would represent consciousness as every possibility playing out in every moment, right? So millions of possibilities all played out and just navigated in a linear way using our attention or the attention that consciousness is playing with. You see? So which script? If every script, if all there is has to play out in a one linear script, then it's not all there is. Like every single potential must be activated for it to be all there is. There's no truth in what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the opposite of what we usually believe is just as believable.
yes, we will not
Therefore,
solve this.
it is
Yes,
worthwhile to drop both positions.
yes, yes, yeah,
Very, very.
yeah.
I enjoyed this conversation very much.
Thank you, Father. Thank you.
You to Nitya. Hello, my dear.
Hello. I was not sure if I should come up. Can you hear me properly?
I hear you well, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and so I just came up to come up. I could speak a lot, but I could also not speak. You know, it's not nothing really important in a way. But I just felt to come up and check if something wants to hide or so. And I just felt to put myself out there, you know, just to
Yes.
to speak up and to check and not make it's so easy, you know, when you are on yourself
Yes.
and yourself at times, maybe, you know, even if you, and this actually I wanted just to check on that. And I just, you know, I find always a lot of things where I do so many people wrong, you know. Also, you.
Can you repeat?
That I'm doing people wrong, you know, and also you. And I just said, and I felt how, you know, just before you called me, I just felt where just repeatedly doing this, and it's so subtle sometimes, you know. And there's so this strong habit to hold on to this personality. And I found more and more how the things are falling away, all the big meanings, and how you don't want to feel that lost, you know, that flowing in nothingness. It's just the fun, you know, this, and then every little thing you grab on it, just forgive me a little bit. And that's pretty tough, actually, at times. It's really, but I also felt again and again, you know, so I'm too old for this play, really. Yeah. So, you know, I don't want to waste all my time anymore, and it doesn't. And recently, I just feel how I felt how I was living a comfort zone, a very, very big one, with a lot of, you know, very stable holding on to, and I had such a yearning to leave that. And even if the yearning is not there, there's something pushing, you know, which I'm not the one. It's really just wants to push me through, and I feel, you know, even when it's really tough going on, I feel so bathed in love and being held, and it's so amazing. And you know, even but also being kicked is so amazing, beautiful, you know. It's all this, and it's and then yeah, the habits just want to keep, you know, being kept somehow. They it's for everyone like this. No, there's nothing special about me or anyone. It's just the way it is. And I used to blame myself so much about this, and feeling guilty and shameful, and but yeah, it's ridiculous. You know, it's just, but it has to be like this. You just have to go through all this. There's no other way. There's just no other way. And yeah, it was taking a long time to avoid everything. Even, you know, and again. So you have a breakthrough, you have recognition, and many recognitions, and many openings. So how do you want to say it? And then again you find yourself in total blindness, ignorance, and sometimes even arrogance. And I'm stunned. Sometimes how, this is amazing. And so I just said, yeah, I just have built up such a big thing, such a big, strong, really strong personality, really. So, and I was not, you can have a very strong personality even if you feel very, very weak and victim-like. And these are the strongest, actually. and this is how I feel about it. And then you're switching from one to the other, and then and all this and all this just wants to be seen. And I just felt to put it out there, that there's no chance to hide all this stuff anymore. So even if I don't want to, or this one doesn't want to, even dann erst recht. I don't know the word. What I mean, yeah. So sometimes this exposing is very important. Yeah.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Touched my heart.
And thank you for being with me.
Always. All of us are with you. And so beautiful to see that life sometimes presents these things, and the beautiful recognition of grace that is happening in these moments is very precious. Very nice.
They could not be like that if it would not be so seemingly bad, actually. So I would not want to miss anything. And thank you also to go when he really spoke from the heart. It was like I was speaking the words. It was really beautiful to have someone who speaks so good, and expresses that well.
Yeah.
So I very much felt like he spoke my words, actually. Very good.
He always speaks well.
Yeah, yes.
But you are speaking very well too.
I haven't spoken for a while. So, yeah, but it's always beautiful to see him. So, everyone, of course, but you know what I mean. So, thank you very much. And thank you to everyone. Thank you.
Oh man. Okay. Let's go to Paula.
Thank you, Father.
Okay.
Hello. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
That's good. No, because you're not trying to convert the circles into squares.
Yes. Yes. I came with a square. Very clear. But I don't even know if
as a
I
result,
have.
if as a result of today's satsang, we just recognize our squares and we let them go, and we realize that no circle has ever been fully captured in a square. I feel like my job is done for today. We drop these conceptual notions, remain in the unborn, you see? Because to remain in the unborn is just this, to not go with our conceptual nonsense, not go with our representation of what is. See? And if we truly don't want anything, which most of us claim, then it's not so difficult. It is only if we say, okay, this is my game plan, this is my roadmap, this is where I have to be, then the mind uses that and says, no, no, you have to have these squares. Otherwise, how are you making progress towards that? See, that's why I keep emphasizing truth for truth's sake. Because this is the point where the mind will play and say, oh, but you wanted to be enlightened by 2022. How much progress are you making? Just for example. Come on, let's hurry up with it. You have other things to do. Not that openly, of course, I'm exaggerating just to make the point. But it has these ideas about the life of this body mind and where the narrative should go, what should happen. You see? But if you have none of that, then the gravitation towards believing those squares is not so much.
Yeah, the thing is that it is a satsang square. So it's the subtle of the subtlest, or
Yeah. But as tricky, if not more. See? The spiritual squares can be very tricky because they have the label special truths. All the rest of the beliefs are just truths. No, apparently, they're not true at all. But the satsang words and satsang concepts, special. So you know what to do with them. Just throw them away.
okay.
I'm open to hearing if you wanted to share.
It's like stuck like here. It's a sense that I always come to you full. Like there's defensiveness with you, or I don't know.
Full as in the opposite of empty, like full of concepts, like that?
Full of me. It's not, yes.
Full of me. Let me see, where is the me? Where is it? Where is it full? Huh? I don't see any me. Show me where it is. I don't see this. In fact, we can't. If we tried, we couldn't do that. You know? Just try to be full of me and show me how. Being is just so strong. You see, that every moment it cleans up everything. It could be full of me. Like that. Huh? But one moment, then we have to remember, no, what am I so upset about? It just can't work. So it is the identity which is fighting a losing battle. We must never feel like it's so difficult for us. Because what can be simpler? You're free right now, before you think about it. You're, like what did Keisha say? The seeming pause will only come if you have a conclusion. You are free. Tell me where the me is or how you're bound right now. Right now. Right now.
Can't say anything.
The mind doesn't have this advantage. The being has this advantage. Fully present every moment. Me can never be like this. The me needs constant. Yeah, say it. It's okay.
It's as if it were happening right now. That, or I don't know what it is.
What? Tell me what is happening right now? What sensation has to appear to convince you that it is the me? What sensation, what thought? Is there an idea that something should not be like this or something should be different?
I don't know. There are many sensations in the body, but I am observing them, so the me is not there, and there are also no thoughts. But I don't know what it is, but it feels like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
What sensation can be there that make the being not being enough and make it a me? Just create as many sensations as you can and try to make the being into a me. Let's see that magic. Are you trying hard enough to create sensation?
It's not sensation because it's clear what a sensation is.
Yeah. Well,
So, and there's also no thoughts because I thought cannot do it because it goes very fast, so it's not a thought.
yeah. And what comes after a but is not a thought.
Yes, it is a thought. It is a thought.
You see? Now you're spotting how the mind moves, no? Because the mind also has understood what is shared in Satsang. So I think it's not a concept, it's not a thought, but let me present to you a thought which is not a thought. Here you go. Maybe it doesn't work like that. It's still a thought.
Yes.
You see, every thought is a thought. 100%. You see? So it tries to invite you into the representations of reality, which you think, which it believes that you will buy into, that it's enticed you with this in the past in some way or the other, and it feels like it can say, yes, there's no thought, there's sensations also perceived, they're all perceived, but yeah, I'm your friend, I'm helping you, I've told you it's not, you see. Now, but it's always nonsense after but. You see? Of course, nonsense before but also, but
So it's this voice that is speaking.
You tell me. Because if it's your intuition, then we have to, put together. One way to check, as I was telling Jada earlier, one way to check is what are you being represented as in the representation of the world, or what is happening? What are you in that? Are you a tiny object in the middle of all of this stuff? You see, what is it? What is it that? And if that representation is so strongly just this limited representation, then obviously it is the mind itself.
But right now it's not. There's no representation.
Yes. So have you vanished along with the lack of representation? That's it. That's freedom. Everything that is needed is here without any notion, any representation. You see, and even representation or notion don't actually do anything. It is only when consciousness is giving them belief, when consciousness plays as if it is limited, and therefore limitation leads to the idea of suffering. But nothing in reality is ever happening. See? So all of satsang is to solve the non-existent problem.
Can I bring another problem? That it's been lately coming, and it's about death.
Death. Who will suffer from the problem of death?
The body? Yes, the body.
Body will not suffer from it, it will die.
Okay, yes. The body is going to die, and there's
Yeah.
fear of that.
So who will suffer when the body dies? The body is no
I don't
longer
know.
going to suffer from it. You see,
No, but
that's
no.
worth contemplating. That the owner of this body, is it consciousness or is it the ego? If it is consciousness, then for consciousness, even if there is something like the changing of this body, then it will be like changing clothes.
Yes.
And all of the clothes are being worn by the same consciousness. But
Yes.
is there another owner which specifically owns just this body? And we were talking about this when we were talking about the individualization of consciousness.
I don't know about that. I don't.
And that's what we can look into, to see in your direct experience whether that which is the witness of all this, you see, that perceives all of this, does that have a special connection or location only within one particular body? Then is it this body, dream body, daydream body? There's so many experiences that you can have. Where can you locate consciousness?
No location. No location. But there's fear of pain in the body, or the body dying with pain.
Pain.
Yes.
Most of us have that pain. Like many people have told me, I don't mind dying as long as it's a painless death. No? But I have some good news for you. That there's only a certain level of pain that you can experience in the body, and after that you will lose consciousness anyway, and that is not something more than you can handle. If it's more than you can handle, you lose consciousness. So all the pain you experience, you'll be able to handle. It's a built-in fail-safe system. Consciousness is not stupid. It's gonna be. Mind tries to get at every unknown and tries to make you fearful of that. So now you know that, okay, I can't experience so much pain. If I experience that much pain, I'll pass out anyway. So I won't be there to experience it. You are never. How can consciousness give to itself something that it can't handle? So unless you insert you as something other than consciousness, then there's no trouble in anything that appears. And pain and pleasure are very much a part of this baking experience. As is in every cooking, you'll have salt, you'll have sweet. You see, what makes up the texture of life. But don't ever worry that consciousness will mess up and put too much salt or too much sweet. Very good. This one last question on the chat. Ananta-ji, if sadness comes to you, you wouldn't mind? That is the question. So if by sadness you mean just the natural appearance of grief that may come, if something happens, some grief may come, it's fine. It's fine. You see? Some tears may come. In fact, I cry a lot in movies and things. So I won't say like grief comes, but you're just watching, and something happens, and then tears start. It's fine. It's quite enjoyable. People watch for that. All of this Leela is to enjoy every color of it, every shape of it, every side of it. It's fine. I can't predict what will happen tomorrow, but at the moment, it just seems like it'll be tasted fully and it should be fine. Guruji's grace. I don't usually say these things because I don't want to make any benchmarks. Like Ananta said like that, but in my case, you see, so forget my answer. Just forget. Let's play a bhajan. Somebody wants to sing for us? Yes. You never asked him. Pankaj will sing. Do you want to play the thing, the background, if you want? You know what I was feeling before I came, and then it vanished, was instead of taking questions in this way, I should just look at everyone and just select and say, would you like to say something? Come. Maybe we try that once next time. Because some of you feel quite shy, no? Once we were just talking and some, like I was forcing them to say something and they said, I'm so glad because I feel so shy to come up. So, next time we just look at this a bit. In the gallery view.
राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो वस्तु अमोलक दी मोरे सतगुरु वस्तु अमोलक दी मोरे सतगुरु कृपा कर अपनायो पायो जी मैंने कृपा कर अपनायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो सत की नाव खेवटिया सतगुरु सत की नाव खेवटिया सतगुरु भवसागर तर लायो पायो जी मैंने भवसागर तर लायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाली जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाली जग में सभी खोवायो पायो जी मैंने जग में सभी खोवायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो चोर न लूटे या को खर्च न खोटे चोर न लूटे या को खर्च न खूटे दिन दिन बढ़त सवायो पायो जी मैंने दिन दिन बढ़त सवायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर नागर मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, हरस हरस जस गायो पायो जी मैंने, हरस हरस जस गायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो।
One more or जाएं?
मेरे करुणामयी सिरकर हमारे श्री राधे, मेरे करुणामयी सिरकर हमारे श्री राधे। श्री राधे जय श्याम राधे, 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 श्री राधे जय श्याम राधे। मेरे करुणामयी, मेरे करुणामयी सरकार हमारे श्री राधे, मेरे करुणामयी सरकार हमारे श्री श्री राधे जय श्याम राधे, 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 राधे 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 Oh Shama 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 Shama. Shama 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 Shama. Oh Shama 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 Shama. Shama 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 Shama. Karuna Mari
Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai.
Sadguru Shri Ananta Ji ki Jai.
Guru Kripa Keval.